Luke chapter 12, verse 48, it brings out, as Jesus says, "For everyone to whom much is given, from him much will be required, and to whom much has been committed, of him they will ask the more." Not too long ago, the Supreme Court said that the president has immunity for his actions in office. According to Jesus, you get more responsibility, more is required of you. There's going to be more judgment coming your way. So there is no immunity allowed. And even in the Constitution of the United States, it doesn't mention that no such immunity, because the person makes an oath that they're going to faithfully carry out the Constitution. So how can you have immunity when you promise to faithfully carry it out? God never gives anybody immunity. Look what he did with Moses. Moses was the meekest man on earth, but he failed in one instance. He couldn't go into the promised land. You can give them your unquestioned power and authority to them all you want to. Doesn't mean nothing to God. They can walk around as proud as Nebuchadnezzar was, thinking that they're immune from punishment. But what happened to Nebuchadnezzar? One day he's sitting on the throne, next day he's out there eating grass. You walk in pride, God can humble you. I hear so many people talk about what a cult is, and right away they go to, well, they teach this, they teach that, that makes them a cult. No, that doesn't make them a cult. Read 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 through 12. That's when it becomes a cult. Yes, disinformation and false teachings are involved, but what makes them a cult is when a human is elevated to a point where they have unquestioned authority. They have immunity. They can do what they want. And there's no accountability from the members. There's no fact-checking by the members. Anytime you're at Imperfect Human Boulevard and Unquestioned Authority Avenue, you're in a cult. Right now, the United States is finding out what a cult is about, how dangerous and deadly they are, because they're infected with this MAGA cult in all three branches of government. And they're finding out what history has always shown. You deliver to an imperfect human, unquestioned authority, immunity, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get lawlessness. The many people that claim the Watchtower is a cult, which they are, because they are right at that street corner, giving these governing body members these imperfect men unquestioned authority. Yeah, they're a cult. They're right there at the street corner. But you're the one claiming they're a cult. You're in a cult too. If you're in the Catholic Church, if you're in Islam, you're in a cult. Because the foundation of it is an imperfect human. See, the Bible is the most anti-cult book you're going to find on this earth. What did it tell us about the Bereans? The Bereans, what were they? They were noble-minded. Why? They heard what Paul said, right? What did they do? They went to go see if it's in the Bible. See, that you can't be captured in a cult when you hear it and then you go check and see if it's true. People listen to their cult leader. They're not doing like the Bereans. They're not going over there, hey, let me go check this out. No, they're following the party line. They're following the MAGA line. They're following their church line of thinking. No matter if they can't answer the questions, they're still following it because they're in a cult. See, the Bible says never lose thinking ability. Cults say leave your thinking ability at the door because what you're going to think is what our cult leader tells you to think. Doesn't matter what the facts are. Doesn't matter what God says. Whatever our cult leader says, that's what you got to perpetrate. And so wickedness happens. I mean, a situation like that is so easy to take advantage of, where the cult leader is like, he can take all the money, he can take all the power, because they're giving it to him. They're giving him immunity. And so until people stop allowing themselves to be in those situations where they're at that street corner doing that, they're going to always be in these cult situations. And many times they don't recognize that they're in it. I didn't recognize I was in it either. Because once you get into the watchtower and you get baptized, they don't want you doing that Berean thing no more. No, no. They want you, governing body said, that's what you say. That's 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 through 12 all day. Whenever you stop being a Berean, you're in trouble. You're going to just be merely mimicking what your cult leader tells you to say. You're going to avoid any conversation that can allow yourself to think that your cult leader could be wrong. And we're getting a good look at a classic observation of a cult as we watch MAGA take its firm hold on the United States government. You listen to their hearings when they go to these congressional hearings. You notice they're always talking about their cult leader. They're always mentioning his name. That's cult behavior. It ain't about the facts, it ain't about truth. Their cult leader, what he said, and this type of thing. Jesus said, as he said, the blind leading the blind. When you're in a cult situation, that leader is unqualified to have unquestioned authority. So he's unqualified. He's like that blind person. He's unqualified to lead another blind person. But you put him in office and you give him this immunity and all this type of thing. Jesus said, he's going in the pit, but you going in there with him. Your freedom is dependent on truth. Once you hand over that power to a cult leader, there goes your freedom out the door. If you ever been in a cult, you're going to find out they ain't got the love you thought they have. Because at the end of the day, they don't have a love for the truth. So once you enter truth in the situation, you're going to find out that you was dealing with wolves. You weren't dealing with people who had love. They'll love, crowd you with love when they're trying to get you in, when they're trying to make you a member, when they're trying to make you a prisoner. But once you find out and you start doing that Berean move, that's when you're going to find out they don't have that love that you thought they had. If you want to give an imperfect human unquestioned authority, that's going to cost you. You may be getting your ears tickled, told some things that you want to hear, but because you don't have love for the truth, it's going to cost you. But if you want to be like the Bereans, then the fruitage from doing that is going to be freedom.